Good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the June meeting of the Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee meeting. We'll start by taking the roll. Mrs. Fry?
Here.
Dr. Dietrich?
Here.
Dr. Furman is not here today, but I am here, so three of us are here. Do we know if there are any public comments?
Just one for the board meeting later, so.
Okay. We will seek approval of the May 13th Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 3-0. Next, we're going to hear a presentation about TSI and ATSI plans from Ms. Merton and Dr. D'Antonio.
Thank you, Director Darnell. As Principal Merton and Dr. D'Antonio come, I just want to make sure that the board has a reminder regarding the process that we have for both schools that are in support designation status. Next slide. What I'll speak to specifically are the targeted supports for both Pierce as well as Hillsdale Elementary, but want to make sure that you have just a reminder as a board what the process is, as well as the designation, the classification for targeted support. So every year, once students take the PSSAs, those scores are reviewed, and typically around the late summer, early fall, we're notified if we have the potential for some schools, and typically those schools are confirmed around the December timeframe. Once those schools are identified, then Jim Renane, our supervisor of assessment and accountability, supports those schools in the work of identifying action plans for addressing the target needs for those student groups. Next slide. Right now we have 2 schools that are identified for targeted support. We have Hillsdale for supports for our English learners, as well as Pierce for supports for our English learners. And ATSI is just needing additional support regarding the length of time those students have needed additional supports. The continuous improvement cycle is what the school planning team undergoes to ensure that we have action planning that is set. This is something that I can say that both schools have a very strong rhythm of practice to review that data, put plans in place, reflect, and make those mid-course corrections as needed, and also celebrate where improvements have been happening, because there have been a number of them. The timeline I just spoke to, which is the next slide, and we're going to begin with Ms. Merton to share with us as far as the plan for Hillsdale Elementary.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I know that we're here tonight to talk about this 25-26 TSI plan, which is before you, but I would like to just start with a brief update on the progress we made this year as a result of our 24-25 TSI plan, which I presented to you at this time last year. We were identified for targeted support in 24-25 for our English learners as well. And last year we took a broad approach to raising the tide for all students by strengthening our school-wide literacy instruction and increasing student engagement, while we also layered in specific strategies to support our English learners, such as professional development for all teachers about specific strategies for our English learners, like sentence frames, guided notes, vocabulary presentation from our speech and language department, as well as working closely with the supervisor of EL, Dr. Everly. We have seen tremendous growth in that group of students in this school year. One key shift was increasing the amount of Tier 1 literacy instruction for our kindergarten students at the start of the year. So we decided that all kindergarten students would stay in their classroom and get that initial instruction in learning their letters and sounds together. And then, based on their progress at the end of that unit, the reading and EL teachers met to collaborate on what were the literacy needs of those students. We increased the time our neediest EL students spent in the English language classroom getting direct instruction on language, and had regular collaboration meetings between our reading specialists and EL teachers, which created opportunities for more impactful literacy instruction within the ELD classroom, and even led to a co-taught class with our reading specialist and English language teacher for kindergarten. As a result, our kindergarten teachers, reading specialists, and English language teachers are reporting that these now rising first graders are further along in their English development than in previous years. And we're also very proud to share that 40% of our English language students scored a 3 or higher on their READA Access in January, which is already surpassing the 36.1%, which contributed to our TSI designation for 25-26. So our trajectory is up, which we're very excited about. So for the 25-26 school year, we're going to continue our literacy focus with the goal to increase the number of students reading on or above grade level. And at the same time, we're going to go deeper to support our English language teachers and by increasing their instructional capacity. And this includes targeted professional development, continuing our collaborative planning, as well as increasing time for the English language teachers to plan with our regular education teachers, and include data analysis and instructional and coaching to ensure that our teachers are equipped to meet the students where they are and help those students grow. We're proud of the progress we've made and are energized by the focused work ahead. Thank you for supporting our school and our students.
And next up, we'll hear from Dr. D'Antonio for updates for peers, and then we'll take questions.
Good evening, members of the board and our cabinet who are here tonight. We are at Pierce very proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish this year and the hard work of our students and our staff, and we have made tremendous progress. Our ATSI designation is a 3-year designation for English language learners. That designation actually started in 1819 and went on a little bit of a hiatus there over our time out with COVID, and then came back. And so we are working to progress through that designation. From last year to this school year, we've lost our TSI designations that we've had, so we've made progress. And our early PSSA data that has returned looks very promising with growth in math and reading. One of the things that's a highlight for our plan is really our focus on community involvement and connecting with our Hispanic and EL families. So some examples include a welcome back kickoff at the Westside Community Center a week before the start of school to make sure that families have school supplies, they understand how to sign on into the portal, and they have access to Schoology. So we bring iPads there, we bring everything, the documentation that they need to be able to sign up for that, and we partner with the Westside Community Center for a middle school after school homework days that meet on Mondays and Wednesdays. And so we really help them establish sort of their group of kids that are going to come, along with reaching out to the community. The other pieces that we do throughout the year, we have our Equity Student Union that has affinity groups for our students to be able to meet during the morning time prior to the start of school. We do quarterly Pride Awards, and then our EL Holiday Luncheon and our cultural days throughout the year, just some examples of connecting with these students and families. Absolutely, thank you. The other piece from an instructional standpoint, we really have been able to leverage our staffing and our support to really focus on those students or groups of students that are struggling. We've been fortunate to be able to have the staffing to co-teach in either grade level reading courses or geography courses or science courses that are supporting these students with the designation. This next upcoming school year, we're going to switch over to the IXL platform as our progress monitoring tool. For math, we have been using it for reading. We have been using CDT prior. We're switching over to IXL. So there will be some training for our staff in terms of administering that, how to make sense of the report and then communicate out. The third piece to that is we have a full communication plan with the progress monitoring and how students are performing to families. That was something that we started last year. We're going to continue on and further develop that. The third piece, I think, and most important, is the data time for teachers. So we're doing progress monitoring quarterly as part of our plan. We're getting some very detailed data back on those students. How do we make sense of that? And then how do we take the next steps to put interventions in place for those students? And so that really is what I would say the core of our plan as we start to move forward. And so we're excited about this opportunity and this challenge. Like Mrs. Merton, we've really looked at it as school-wide with some very specific and targeted strategies for our English language learners. Thank you. I don't think that's much.
Radioactive.
It's really good to see the progress, not only in the two schools, Hillsdale and Pierce, but throughout the district, because I remember a time when there were several schools that were on this list. So the progress that we're making district-wide is really a good thing to see, and the progress that you're making at your schools is great. I love that both schools are taking a whole school approach, rather than just singling out the weak link, so to speak, or really providing instruction that benefits the whole school. I love that you're using the data, it's not just going by feel, but by analyzing the data is just the way to go. And I believe I heard both schools are using co-teaching as one of the strategies. So it's great work. Please keep it up. Any questions, comments from anybody on the committee or the board?
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
And next, so we need to seek approval for all right, so we'll start with approval is requested of the targeted support and improvement school plans for Pierce Middle School and Hillsdale Elementary. I so move. We need a second. Second by Dr. Dietrich. Any questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it carries 3-0. Next, we're going to hear about, we're going to seek approval for modern classrooms. Is Dr. Brown going to share about modern classrooms?
Good evening, everyone. The TLE team is seeking approval for a contract with Modern Classrooms. They are a few things. They're a service, they're an additional curricular resource, but they're also professional learning opportunities for our teachers. The focus for the contract with Modern Classrooms will specifically be designated for our departmentalized schools and specifically our math teachers. Modern Classrooms connects with Modern IM, not Modern Classrooms. And it's going to 2 hours, our teachers will have 2 days of professional learning in August, and they'll have 2 separate days of coaching where a Modern Classrooms coach will come into the building and spend time with them throughout the year to help them navigate the online platform, which again connects with IM. Which is Illustrative Math, which is our math resource program, sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Any questions or comments? Approval is requested of a 1-year agreement with the Modern Classrooms project for a cost not to exceed $65,000 to support professional development. I so move. Is there a second? Dr. Dietrich. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries 3-0. And for discussion, there's a high school schedule follow-up with Dr. Connolly and Dr. Christopher.
Which is just me because Dr. Connolly is at the beach. Seems like a good place to be. I should have joined him. But And I'm stealing time, I realize right now, from property and finance, but we did want to provide an update on where we have made some changes in the high school schedule and some different things we've done. So Todd, you go to the next slide for me. Really, we have an overview here just because there continue to be just some questions, like very general questions related to the schedule. So I want to make sure that anything we put out has just kind of some very basic information about the schedule, because we've met with students and with parents. There continue to be questions about even the very basic general portions of the schedule. So that's on there. Once again, the benefits, these are not new to anyone. Those of you who've been following this, really the things we're hoping for. More opportunities for students to interact, longer class periods, more time for staff to plan, collaborate, and continue learning, a guaranteed lunchtime for every student, daily intervention, enrichment time for students, and less missed classes for student athletes. So those are things that we've expected out of this that we've been putting forward. How are we going to monitor this? Well, I mean, I think student surveys, we had a great meeting with about 20 students from 3 different high schools here last week. They had all kinds of great ideas for us in terms of how we can monitor this and think about it and what would success look like, and they gave us a lot of great feedback. But I think some surveys related to some of these things are really important. We also are going to be creating principal advisor committees at each high school. Our goal will be to have 15 to 20 students who actually serve as an advisor to the principal. I meet with them on a regular basis to provide them with feedback and information. We think student voice is going to be a big part of the work here, and trying to incorporate that into something we're looking at as well. We're looking at different classroom walkthroughs for next year. We're really kind of focusing on some big questions related to student engagement and thinking about how students are the type of work they're doing in classes. And then the amount of student mental health requests, I mean, are we seeing those go down as kids are more engaged, as we're seeing more students who are feeling like they have the support they need? And then really student performance has to be continued part of this. Like, are kids continuing to do well, or are they doing better on some of these things, these local, state, national assessments? What does success look like? Students are more connected to the school staff and each other. Student work is more meaningful and relevant. Students are more actively engaged in schoolwork and activities. Student performance is improved on assessments. Student mental health requests decrease, and student utilization of supports increase. I mean, these are types of things we're going to look for to measure success with these changes. Once again, just a very basic rotational schedule. There's still a lot of questions about how the schedule will actually rotate. So we just put this in here so folks have that. So you can see how the schedule would rotate each day, what it looks like as the classes rotate, and what the lunch and learn blocks look like. So we provided an overview to parents on May 7th. We've had about 630 parents participate either in the live session or watch the session recording, which I think is a great number. Like, we're really happy to have that. We had follow-up sessions and multiple invitations. We sent those out to parents for the following week, which we held those at the beginning of May. We had about 70 parents participate in that total across the 3 buildings. Questions we continue to get were implementation timelines and lunch and learn facilities and logistics, lots of those. Specific questions about programs and individual student schedules. I actually met with one parent to show her what our child's schedule might look like, which was helpful for her. I don't think we can do that with every parent, but I think coming up with a plan that helps parents see what their schedules could look like would be helpful. And then also just continued questions about instructional time and what are our concerns about that. Additional feedback. Since then, we met with the entire high school music faculty. I think it's the first time we had our high school music faculty for all 3 feeder patterns together in quite a while. They had lots of really interesting findings. You do what? How does that work? How does that work in your schedule? How do you schedule that? Like, just really interesting. We also we're lucky enough to have Eddie Otto, who is our new supervisor for music and phys ed, was here, and he jumped right in and had lots of scheduling recommendations. A really productive day. As I said, we had students here, and we also brought all our schedulers together at the high school level to actually go through and talk about schedules and think of how we could do some things differently. So we had 3 very productive full-day meetings here. A lot of the students were half-day. Actually, the music teachers were as well. And we had a great portion of a graduate committee that Dr. Reynolds led. We had about 70 internal and external stakeholders here to discuss why for making changes in instructional practices in our schools. And I think those of you who were involved thought that was really positive and interesting experience. It'll lead us forward. So we did also have the ability with our admin team last week to walk the buildings and really look at what we're gonna do in terms of logistics and furniture and those kinds of things. So really for this summer, we're gonna be purchasing some furniture, recommending 10 high-top tables and chairs for each school. Mr. Burster's department has come up with some good plans, I think, for when we've removed lockers to put essentially a countertop along the wall, usually in between some columns, so it's really not sticking out from the wall, and to get some stools that can sit underneath that really easily. That would be in place hopefully for the fall. So we're gonna start doing that work now. We think we can do that. It's gonna really help in terms of just people seeing what this could look like and providing students with places to sit where right now they are congregating mostly on the floor, to be honest with you. We also are really looking to look at some foldable rolling tables for Henderson's LGI and the library at East. I think we could definitely purchase the LGI ones with cafeteria funding. I think the East Library would not be serving food in the East Library. We would not have any food in any of the libraries. But when you go to the East Library, there's so much unused space there that we could utilize in so many different ways. It's just a great big space. So really walk around. Those are things we hope to accomplish this summer. And then the 2026 facilities planning, I think, is on track. We had a great conversation about the scope. I think people are really envisioning a scope that we are not. This is not going to be massive renovations in any of these buildings, but it is going to provide a separate eating area at each one of the schools, and it's going to provide additional seating for students during lunch and learn. And so we'll be able to demonstrate all that. Those will come to you in October as things that we actually would put into our facilities planning process for the following year. So you guys will have estimates at that point. We've gone through that whole process at the October work. Some complex schedules. I just want to go through a few of these. So we can see our questions about TCHS, Ed Practicum, Allied Health, Gifted. We can schedule all of these things in the new schedule. I think we have plans for each one of them. I don't think anything's finalized yet because we're still working through some of those options, but there are ways to schedule all of these in very reasonable ways in all of these schedules. I think some issues we're looking at right now, I wouldn't say they're issues, but senior-only programs like Ed Practicum and Allied Health can be run on a similar schedule to each other. We think we can do that. We've demonstrated that. We have a conversation as part of this with TCHS, and they're looking at possibly offering a half-day Allied Health program. It would be more like a regular TCHS course. The kids would have the opportunity to get a lot more certificates, but it would be a full half-day program. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. That's really absent of this schedule. It's not necessarily connected to it, but that may be something that they would like to look at. Things that we're going to talk about a little bit later at the board meeting, like TCHS students right now are really having a hard time getting all their graduation requirements in. Because we've dug into the schedule, we're really realizing how difficult that is for students. And really the schedule is not having any impact on that, positive or negative. But current students, TCHS students, are having a very difficult time completing all their graduation requirements right now. So that's something that we're going to talk about in the regular board meeting. And we think the preschool schedule is going to need to be discussed and probably modified to 4 days a week instead of 3. Right now they run, I think, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We need to run them 4 days a week to ensure the kids have 2 days of courses and 2 days of time with students in the morning to make that work. So to make sure, we think we can do that. Some other key findings, like right now, many of our students take more than 7 credits. One of the things that's been proposed to us is that we would reduce, we would go to 7 credits instead of a rotating schedule. We think that'd have a negative impact on a lot of programs and students. I can show you that in a second. Staffing isn't equal across buildings. We found out as we sat down with our music faculty that we really do not staff. We're staffing for base program and some different things, but there have been numerous programs, especially in the rustic theater, that we haven't run because we have not had adequate staffing, which is a concern to us. So even though we had the number of students potentially to run a course, we didn't have a staff member to run the course, so we didn't run it. So we think that's going to be an area that we need to look at, specifically with music, probably with world language as well. And our students were just, they were interesting to talk to about the double blocks. I think a lot of them were concerned about it. So that it's not fully utilized. So we need to really take a hard look at that and have some more conversations with our teachers about really what their hopes are for the double lab block. Or as opposed to that, do you run a schedule, especially for AP, where the kids see the teacher every day, maybe have 1 double lab instead of 2 over 8-day cycles. Those are just conversations that we've had and we need to keep talking about. So this is a course utilization chart, and as you can see, 9th and 10th graders in all 4 buildings are taking more than 7 credits. In fact, we have quite a few students who take 8 credits or more in 9th and 10th grade. So that would be a pretty negative impact if we would drop the 7 for those kids. By their senior year though, you notice a change, pretty substantially. And that really is due to course requirements and graduation requirements. So kids are done with their graduation requirements and they're not taking as many classes. So I think that's a conversation we're gonna have over the next couple of months, is what are those grad requirements should they look like? And are we concerned about this, or should we be looking at senior options that are different, where kids are actually getting internships, where they're out and doing other things as opposed to courses? Yes?
David, I think that chart, it should be greater than 7 in the
Yes,
last
yeah.
column. It's just a little confusing.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, we'll fix that. Yeah, I see what you mean, absolutely should be. But yeah, it is greater than 7, sorry, yeah. So yeah, it's kind of wild to see those numbers though, and the other one should be the other direction, the 6, yeah. But yeah, I mean, when we ran the data, it was pretty shocking to see all of that. Yeah, we'll adjust
So,
that.
or there's the seniors that are taking study halls at that point?
There's a lot of that, there's late arrival. We have a lot of seniors. I mean, we had that conversation, like they come in, take a couple classes they want to take, and one of them had 4 study halls, you know, like.
Well, they're most likely not the students who are trying, or applying to very competitive colleges.
Although those kids are taking 7 or plus, you see
They are
it.
filling up their schedules with
Yeah.
AP classes, which I was gonna wait to the end, but the idea of turning allied health to a full half-day program would be very concerning to me, because many students who take advantage of allied health are applying to competitive colleges because they wanna go on to possibly medical school or nursing school. So I think that would be a big change to make it a half-day program, and would prevent a lot of students who are interested in taking allied health from taking it.
Yeah, those are the
I'm not-
conversations we're
I'm not
having.
a fan of a half-day allied
Yeah.
health, I'll just put it out there.
Well, I mean, I think the thing that we've seen happen though is because of placement challenges, we're seeing a lot more kids taking for 3 and 4 credits. And quite a few of them are taking for 4 credits, because if I'm at Paoli Hospital, and that's where my placement is, it's very difficult for me to do that as like a 3-credit course. I can do 2 credits barely if I'm at Henderson High School. And I'm going to Chester County, but otherwise it's at least 3. So those conversations are just they've been interesting to have, because depending on where kids get placed, it really has an impact on that. But we do hear that, and when we look at the kids' schedules, a lot of them are taking AP courses, and that would be a detriment. But when you look at the heat map, it's really interesting to see where, you know, kids are loading up early and then they're not, you know, and then that's been a senior option, I guess, to some extent, but what are we doing to engage seniors is a really great question, I think, that we need to think about. I just have a couple sample schedules. I'm not going to dig into them too much. These are ones we've shown before. But this is the Allied Health schedule, where we would run AP Government and Politics as a standalone course in the afternoon, and then the kids would have access to do their Allied Health program, you know, in the afternoon there. And this would be a little bit longer than their 2 periods they have now, but this would be tight, you know, as we discussed. Then we also have the preschool program. So the preschool would start, it wouldn't start, obviously the first period's too early for the kids. So it would start at that second period. So the way it would rotate would allow students to have the child development lab at least twice, you know, a week, and also have their regular course 2 days a week. So if I have child development on this list, you can see, like, if it's Monday through Friday, I have child development in blue 2 times, and I have the child development lab 2 times. And that works out, even though we continue to move forward throughout the week and what it looks like if we run it in that schedule. So pretty much any classes that would operate in that format.
As far as the gifted program in high school goes, I did see one of your schedules had
Yep.
a first period for Paideia or.
Yep.
But I would think Lunch and Learn lends itself to the gifted program very well, because my memory is Paideia took up a lunch. And that's one of the reasons why many students don't have a lunch, is because they're going to the gifted program at lunchtime.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are lots of options still for us to look at, because we go to 8 periods now, we should be able to schedule it. I mean, the biggest challenge we're gonna see with some of these schedules really is our current phys ed requirements are really built to bookend with AP classes and Paideia or a colloquium. So when we look at those colloquium and Paideia classes, it's a 0.4 credit. If I am in 9th and 10th grade, it turns to a 0.2 credit. Well, that really is so that you can bookend your phys ed and your lab course into that block. So we're gonna have to have some conversations about what that looks like, because it won't bookend as well with everything being 1.5 credits. But we can certainly make it work. This next one is the TCHS, and you can see kids have 4 options here. Now the problem, and we're gonna talk about in the regular board meeting, with the challenge we're having right now, is that in Your sophomore year, we have 6 credits that you're required to take. You only have 4 spots for that. That's really a difficulty. By the time you're a junior, it's 5.4 credits you're required to take, and you still only have 4 spots. So a lot of kids are taking cyber PE. We've been offering social studies over at TCHS. They really don't want to do that anymore because our kids get less time at TCHS than any other students in the entire center. So, but I mean, those are discussions we'll have at the regular meeting about the graduation change panel, and we'll take any more time. And the last one is the gifted schedule. So this is a very fully scheduled child. This is a full 8 credits with an AP lab, music courses, and we can still fit colloquium in here. Now the challenge we run into is the personal finance course there, or the personal fitness course that we're working on. And what does that look like in that schedule? So, but right now I think we have students, to your point here, who are either taking it during lunch or taking cyber PE to try and fit everything in there. So this is probably not a lot different than that. Our next ones are just repeats, just to refresh everybody's memory about the timings that we pushed forward. That one, and then also this one, just where we're at with these options. Training we're planning to do. Once again, this was from the last meeting presentation. And then we do have an opportunity for folks to give us more feedback. That QR code there that we'll be using is just goes to a survey. If there are any other questions we can answer.
Thank you. I have two more comments.
Sure.
And my biggest 2 concerns are how are we making up the reduced instructional time, particularly for AP classes, the issue with the double labs, and then also how do we make sure that students are using their lunch and learn time proactively and productively. So they're the 2 concerns that I would like to see some more answers on going forward.
Sure. Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Christopher. And finally, we're going to, for informational purposes, Dr. Missick is going to talk about the revisions to 913 AG1.
Thank you, Director Durno. The informational item that was added to the agenda is because that we do not have a policy review committee before August, and we wanted to make sure that we had approval of this AG before school starts. The school board policy 913 and 913 AG1, it outlines the conditions under which non-school entities may distribute materials to our students and our families. And it does not specifically address organizations that are recognized under Title 36 of the U.S. Code, which includes groups like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts of America. When we would now institute the new AG, these organizations explicitly to Title 36 would be allowed to be disseminated in our school newsletters. That's what the change would be. So again, this is just an informational item. We are going to put the AG in place for the beginning of the 25-26 school year.
Any
So,
questions?
can I clarify that would then allow the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to hand out material about troops, perhaps in our schools through the schools?
As the AG reads right now, it would be disseminated through our school newsletters, and that's electronic. That's what we do for our school-based groups now. We don't do any hard copies anymore.
Okay.
We stopped that this school year.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing in book bags.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, there are examples of, is it just those 2 organizations, or are there other examples?
I had to do some homework on this. There's a lot more organizations, but these would apply. These 2 really would impact our schools. For instance, Director Christie, I looked this up, and just the organizations itself, if Dr. Rounds over my shoulder, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 100.
100 new organizations.
Other types of.
So I just want to thank you guys for this revision, because I know, like myself and Director Dietrich, we both have kids who have participated in these programs. We've both talked with local organizations. It's actually been an issue, challenge for our district in particular versus other neighboring districts, that these organizations have lost their connection to our classrooms.
And it shows our responsiveness to the community because there was an outreach from the Boy Scouts about this, and it shows our responsiveness. So thank you for this work, Dr. Bissett. Our next teaching, learning, and equity meeting is on Monday, August 11th, and we invite you to attend. With that, I'll adjourn the meeting, and we'll go right into property and finance.
Is roll call. Director Christie.
Here.
Director Wamsley.
Here.
Director Parkinson.
Here.
All right, Justin, all here. Any public comment? Justin? No. Okay, no public comment. The next thing on the agenda is we always do is approval of the Property Finance Committee meeting minutes from the prior month. That was back on May 19th. Nobody approached me with any comments. Did anybody have anything? All right. Seeing none, looking for approval of the May 19th Property and Finance Committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's 4-0, we're good. The next item, Mr. Scully has one item today, and that's to discuss the 25-26 school lunch programs.
Thanks, Mr. Midwalker. Included in your packet was a memo from me for the approval of the 25-26 food service pricing list. So this is prices for a meal in our cafeterias, as well as then secondary to that is our a la carte pricing and any changes in our a la carte pricing. In 2010, there was an act that went through, it was the Healthy Hunger Free Kid Act. And I won't go through the entire thing, but the basis of the funding requirements is that we need to be charging at least the same amount for a paid lunch, so meaning a paid student, that fee needs to be at least the same as what we are getting in reimbursement between federal and state funds. So that federal and state funds continues to go up. So there is a tool that we need to work on. I will tell you that the 25-26 tool has not been released yet from the federal government, yet you need to approve your pricing for your lunch meals this month. So we use the 24-25 guidelines and the tool in 24-25. So based on the 24-25 numbers, the weighted average meal cost was $3.03. So that is an average of breakfast and lunch through all of our schools. The targeted rate from the tool, so we're at 303, the targeted rate is 330. So that would actually mean that we would be raising our prices by 27 cents at the elementary level and at the high school, or middle school level. I think that that is too high. There is a caveat in the legislation that says, although we do need to increase, we need to continually increase towards the target. It doesn't say we need to meet it in a year. So I'm making the same recommendation that I've made in previous years, that we do a 10-cent increase, which will get us to an average on 24-25 rates of 313, approaching the 330. So I'm looking for a 10-cent increase at the elementary and middle. Both of those are on the National School Lunch Program. I'm looking for a 25% increase on meals in the high school. The high school is not on the program. But you'll see that I did do pricing comparisons below. The average high school price, not including Westchester, is $361. We are proposing $375, and that $361 is current year pricing, not next year's pricing. You'll see that some schools are rather low, which really bring it down, which is Stevensville being one of them. You'll see Coatesville and Octorara are not even on there, and that's because they are on the, they are a Total 3 school district. So we don't count them in our averages. They qualify for Total 3 for reimbursements. So according to policy 808, I do need to get a board approval to increase our rates, again, 10 cents for elementary, middle school lunches, and 25 cents for high school lunches. And then behind it was some a la carte pricing, various items increasing, not by a whole lot. That is all based on strictly our cost. So any cost increase that we see, we are passing those cost increases.
Any questions from the committee or from anybody on the board?
Just confirm, there's no change to breakfast, just.
No change to breakfast. Actually, breakfast is free. We are still
That's why I
under,
was confused by those prices.
we are still under state funding. So under Shapiro's budget, the budget line item he did have included in it was free breakfast. So that free breakfast applies to our elementary and middle school. And then we offer it as a district to our high school students who qualify for the National School Lunch Program. Since our high schools are not on the program, we do not get that funding from the state.
This is an approval item for the Property and Finance Committee, and we will bring it to the subsequent board meeting tonight too. So approval is requested for the 25-26 lunch prices for elementary school, an increase of 10 cents for elementary and middle school, and an increase of 25 cents for high school. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay? Okay, nobody's, we're good for nothing. Okay, the next item, we have one item for Mr. Burster. He's going to talk about 25-26 capital reserve project bids, awards.
Okay, the 25-26 capital reserve project list. Tonight we have two projects to bring forward for consideration. The first project is project G189, which is the East High School HVAC pump VFD drive replacement, a variable frequency drive replacement, seeking approval to award the Tri-State HVAC in the amount of $36,761.55. The original budget for that project was $53,950. The second project is project G183, which is the district-wide access control and camera upgrade project. I'm seeking approval to award Turnkey Technologies in the amount of $126,523.99, with an original project budget of $500,000, leaving a project balance remaining of $18,375.01.
Thank you, Wayne. Again, any questions from anybody on the committee or the board? All right, seeing none, again, this is an approval item for property and finance, and we'll bring it also to the formal board meeting tonight. So we're looking for approval of these two projects as stated by Mr. Burster for the 25-26 capital reserve project awards. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, good there, Justin, for nothing. And that was the last formal item on the agenda. And the next Property and Finance Committee meeting will be held on August 18th. Thank you, everybody. We'll get ready for the board meeting in a minute.
I would like to call to order the June 16th, 2025 meeting of the Westchester Area School Board. Let us begin the meeting with a salute to our flag. Please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no special announcement tonight. Next, we'll do roll call. Ms. Evangelino.
Oh, you almost got it right. Director Wamsley.
Here.
Director Parkinson. Here. Director Fry.
Here.
Director Dietrich. Here. President Fleming.
Here.
Vice President Bevilacqua.
Here.
Director Christie.
Here.
Director Durnell.
Here.
Director Herman.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to public comment on agenda items. Mrs. Sundquist, do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment on agenda items this evening.
Okay, thank you. We'll now approve the minutes from the May 28th, 2025 meeting. May I have a first to approve the minutes from the May 28th meeting? Dr. Dietrich, may I have a second? Director Fry? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I have an executive session announcement. Please note in the minutes, the board met in executive session tonight, June 16, 2025, regarding a safety matter and a personnel matter. Do we have any amendments to the agenda for tonight? No, I don't believe so. No, we'll talk about it. And seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the June 16, 2025 agenda as presented? Vice President Bevilacqua, may I have a second? Director Durnell, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This leaves us to Dr. Christopher's monthly report.
I really don't have a report this evening, so just congratulations to all our graduates. I will yield my time back to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And now we have Dr. Ulmer with the monthly personnel report.
Good evening, Mrs. Fleming, Mr. Bevilacqua, and members of our board. Our personnel report for the month of June 2025 is as follows. With removals from payroll, we have 9 resignations, 6 teachers, 2 custodians, and 1 paraprofessional. With additions to payroll, we are recommending the hiring of 15 teachers and 1 long-term substitute. Additionally, we are very lucky to be recommending 1 administrator to the Westchester team. We have Elise Gonzalez, who we are recommending as an elementary assistant principal. Elise and her family are here this evening. She comes to us from Upper Darby High School. Upper Darby School District. Elise, would you please stand and be recognized? Welcome. We're also recommending the hiring of a building systems supervisor at Facilities and Operations Center. Additionally, we're also recommending 2 registered behavior technicians, 2 custodians, and a secretary. In temporary summer staff, we're recommending 15 teachers, paraprofessionals, tutors, and secretaries. In personnel events, I communicated and delivered 1 status change to the administrative group. Ms. Ashley Melanson is moving from an instructional technology coordinator to an elementary assistant principal. Ashley is here with her family. Ashley, would you please stand and be recognized? I was also able to communicate and deliver 3 voluntary status changes in the teachers group and 1 in the non-bargaining group. Furthermore, I communicated and delivered 7 involuntary status changes in the professional group and 1 in our custodial group. I communicated and delivered 2 voluntary transfers in the teaching staff for the 25-26 school year. We're also seeking approval for 3 unpaid leaves in the support staff. In additional information, we're reporting 6 updated start dates, a correction, update in the spelling of a name, and the approval of the non-bargaining support / confidential salaries and merit performance bonuses for the compensation, benefits, and work environment guide for supervisory, technical, and confidential employees. In supplemental contracts, we are adding 9 fall contracts for the 25-26 school year and 2 removals from the fall season for the 25-26 school year. One thing I do want to mention, the 3 people that are going on an unpaid leave are from our support staff who will be student teaching to hopefully become teachers in Westchester area school districts. So we're very excited for that. I'm respectfully requesting board approval for all personnel matters listed above. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Omer. May I have a motion to approve the June 16, 2025 personnel recommendations as presented? Director Parkinson, may I have a second? Director Fry? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to our committee reports. First, we have Director Dornell with Teaching, Learning, and Equity.
Thank you, President Fleming. Our June meeting for Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee happened earlier this evening. We had 2 action items. One was the approval of the TSI and ATSI plans presented by Ms. Merton and Dr. D'Antonio from Hillsdale and Pierce, respectfully. We also gave approval for Modern Classrooms contract as presented by Dr. Brown. A discussion item was an update on the high school schedule follow-up. Dr. Christopher reported on that. And then finally, revisions to 913 AG1, non-school organizations, groups, and individuals. Dr. Messick talked about that, how we're making provisions for groups like the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to present information in the district newsletter.
Hello.
And then our next Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee meeting is Monday, August 11th.
I believe Director Dornell has a couple of things to present to the board for approval, but first I realized that, or I was reminded that I forgot to take a vote on the consent agenda. So I'd like to go to the approval of the consent agenda and then go to Director Dornell's motions for approval. So may I have a motion to approve the June 16, 2025 consent agenda as listed or amended, assuming nobody has anything to take off? So I have a first from Vice President Bevilacqua. Do I have a second? Dr. Dietrich, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we'll go back to Director Dornell.
Approval is requested of the targeted support and improvement school plans for Pierce Middle School and Hillsdale Elementary School. I so move.
I have a first from Director Dornell. May I have a second? Director Christie, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And approval is requested for a 1-year agreement with the Modern Classrooms Project for a cost not to exceed $65,000 to support professional development. I so move.
I have a first from Director Dornell. May I have a second? Dr. Dietrich, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Director Dornell. We do not have a Personnel Committee report held this month. Now Vice President Bevilacqua will give the Property and Finance Committee report.
Yeah, good evening. We held a Property and Finance Committee, most of you were part of it, just prior to this board meeting tonight. We just have 2 items to discuss real quick. Mr. Scully provided an update on the school breakfast lunch prices, and basically the 25-26 lunch prices for elementary and middle schools were increased 10 cents and the high school increased 25 cents. I do have a motion for formal board approval tonight. It reads as follows: approval is requested for the 25-26 lunch prices of elementary schools at $1.50 for breakfast, $3.05 for lunch. Middle school prices of $1.75 for breakfast and $3.30 for lunch, and high schools for $2 for breakfast and $3.75 for lunch. I so move.
I have a first from Vice President Bevilacqua. May I have a second? Director Fry, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One last item that we had at the Property Finance Committee, our Director of Facilities, Mr. Burster, provided us the 25-26 Capital Reserve Project bid awards. And there were two project bid awards for this evening. One was for East High School HVAC pump and drive replacements with Tri-State HVAC equipment for a total award price of $36,761. And there was one other project, and that was for access controls and camera installation and replacement with Turnkey Technologies for a total award price of $126,523. I do have a formal approval item tonight for the board, and as approval is requested of the 25-26 Capital Reserve Project bid awards as presented, I so move.
Thank you, Vice President Bevilacqua. I have a first from Vice President Bevilacqua to approve the 2025-26 Capital Reserve Project bid awards as presented. May I have a second? Director Wamsley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We also had no policy review committee meeting this month. So in other reports, Dr. Durnell, please tell us what's going on at the IU.
Thank you for promoting me to doctor status. Easiest degree I ever got. And my initials are Daryl Richards, so I could sign doctor. I wanted to, but I don't. The Chester County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors held their monthly meeting on Wednesday, May 21st at the CCIU Learning Center. And since I wasn't at the previous board meeting, I'm sharing this report now. Dr. Don Megan, Assistant Director of Student Services, introduced horticulture instructor Mr. Mike Walls and student Ross McKay, student who provided an overview of the CCIU horticulture program's outstanding participation in the 2025 Philadelphia Flower Show. Dr. Jean McCarthy, Director of Brandywine Virtual Academy, introduced her team, BBA/PBA Operations Manager Kevin Ballasty, BBA Online Instructor Dave, I don't know how to say his last name, Schaschner, and BBA Student Support Liaison Aubrey Stokes. Together they provided an overview of the wellness check-ins for virtual programs, a new pilot program launched in January of this year. The team outlined goals of the check-ins, which are to enhance student engagement, provide emotional and academic support, and build stronger connections between students and staff. Data shared from the initial months highlighted increased communication, early identification of student needs, and positive feedback from both students and families. The program will be launched to all districts in the fall of 2025. Ms. Maureen Linehan, Director of Human Resources, introduced her two assistant directors, Ms. Danielle Hawkins and Ms. Ashley Rawls, who provided a brief overview of the Chester County Recruiting Consortium program. They spoke to their efforts to recruit educators and support staff for 12 school districts spanning 759 square miles and serving 86,000 students and 6,000 educators. Their campaign, A Place for You in Education, utilized paid and organic marketing on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Ads, billboards, and Spotify, along with 11 job fairs. The next meeting of the board will be held on Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 18th at 7:30 at the Educational Service Center on Boot Road in Downingtown. That ends my report.
Thank you, Mr. Durnell.
Demoted, so.
We have 4 other business agenda items tonight. We'll start with Director Parkinson.
Yes, thank you. Approval is requested for the contract of employment for Terry Rita, Director of Human Resources for the Westchester Area School District, from July 1st, 2025 through June 30, 2030. I so move.
May I have a first from Director Parkinson? May I have a second? Director Fry? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And my second item is requesting approval for the revised Westchester Area School District Management Team Organizational Chart. And I just wanted to seek clarification regarding the changes to the chart. I know they're inclusive of the 2 assistant principals for elementary that we've approved, but I just want clarification, are there any other changes to the chart that we're looking to approve tonight?
Yes, I can answer that. So yes, the teaching and learning supervisor team is now fully staffed, which is also new. And we've added an assistant director in that role as well. It was not on the previous chart. We had 2 assistant to the directors at one point and different supervisors, so that's now been changed.
Have we also eliminated a couple of positions?
Yeah, the 2 assistant to director positions are no longer. Yeah.
Thank you, I missed what you said there.
Thank you. So just to restate, approvals requested for the revised Westchester Area School District Management Team Organizational Chart. I so move.
I have a first from Director Parkinson, may I have a second? Oh my gosh, it was it Director Durnell? I think Dr. Durnell sounds good. Have you thought about it?
Fine, I'll go back to school.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I think we'll move to Director, or Dr. Petrie.
Approval is requested to waive the first and second reading requirements and allow final board approval for revised policy 217 graduation requirements. But, like everybody's Dr. tonight. Mrs. Parkinson said, I think we have some questions about this before we move to the motion. If Dr. Christopher could explain what we're trying to do here.
Sure. So, well, we can do it that way. Normally we move and then we do the questions. That's okay. It's really not that big a deal. But so yeah, so this year we've been notified by TCHS that they are no longer staffing a social studies teacher position there at TCHS. So what's been happening is our students, especially our sophomores and juniors, have been taking social studies at TCHS as part of their program there. So instead of just going and doing their work in their shops, they've been taking social studies to meet the Westchester Area School District graduation requirements for social studies. Unfortunately, we've been told they're not going to restaff that position. And so right now, especially our sophomores have 6 required credits that they must take beyond their TCHS time, which is a 4-credit course. And so unfortunately, they don't have time in their schedules to do that. So unless students are, and a lot of times kids have taken cyber courses, we've done all kinds of things. We actually offered cyber instruction to students. A lot of these kids, that's not a really great option for them, to be honest with you, especially if I have learning support or I'm an English language learner, I have some other challenge like that. It really becomes a burden. So we had some discussions with Amanda, and really the only way to support those kids that we've been able to identify for the current year is to actually reduce a credit. And the social studies credit made the most sense to us because the other requirements for them, are English, math, science, and then they also have a humanities course. We actually can count what they do at the TCHS for that. They also in 10th grade have a full year of health and phys ed. They have a 0.6, I believe, health and a 0.4 phys ed course. The challenge with eliminating that is it really is the only time they take health as a requirement, and so we would not be able to necessarily meet the state standards for health. So the way it works in Pennsylvania is that the district has to certify that the kids have actually met the standards, which really are generally not based on content, but are based more on skills and activities that the kids do. And so in talking with our social studies supervisor, they feel like if we eliminated 1 credit, the students would still be able to meet the state standards. It's not like we're eliminating multiple credits for kids. It would be one of their 4 required social studies classes. So this is it, and I understand there's some concerns about that, and we certainly can have some additional discussion. I'm just not sure what our other options are for students at this point. And the option to have them take social studies during TCHS time has really not been a great one for them, because they actually have less time than in their actual content shop, which is what they're trying to do as a career. So I think that's been one of our difficulties. But yeah, we can certainly have conversations. Yeah.
I just have a question. Other districts then are the TCHS students missing out on the government social studies class?
Well, I mean, it really would depend on what you would do. I mean, like, so as I said, one option would be that the district would create like maybe a senior social studies course for TCHS students where we could identify specific content that we wanted to ensure that students had. we're gonna have a personal finance requirement that's gonna be coming. So this is our solution for next year. We obviously realize this isn't a long-term solution, but in terms of trying to spin something up for kids for next year so that they can actually, you know, we can ensure that they have the courses they need to stay on track to graduate. We didn't feel like there were a lot of other options right now. But yes, the district certainly could look at, and the personal finance is gonna be a required semester the kids are gonna have to take at some point, and generally do not have them do it as freshmen. So this is gonna be an issue, and yes, so there are districts who have different graduation requirements for TCHS students, or a lot of times what you're seeing is they allow them to count TCHS time toward other subjects. So you might say, okay, we feel like there's enough content in here for it to be a math credit, you know, and like so there's a way to look at that differently. Our challenge right now is that with our graduation requirements, we didn't really see how we could do that over the summer, where you can go through and look at each one of these options and identify that.
I believe there's concern with the students missing the government, social studies class that covers civics. And there's really a need, particularly these days, for our students to graduate with an understanding of civics and also looping it in with a portrait of the graduate and what we want our students to be prepared for for their future. So do we?
So U.S. government is a senior course. That's when kids are taking that, and students as seniors should have time in their schedule to take a social studies class. So I think the other piece of this too is that we certainly wouldn't want all kids to like just say, okay, I don't take a social studies course, but we really can't fit it in your schedule. We're just trying to make sure that kids stay on track to graduate. So in lieu of trying to have a student who potentially has an IEP, like take an online course for social studies so we could say that they met the criteria, we just don't know that that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what Director Fleming said. I do have a concern and a reservation about not having social studies in this block. I do empathize and understand the challenge, so I think there needs to be more to go into a potential solution. But as this is a key set of knowledge and coursework that prepares our students for civic life, I think it's probably one of the more indispensable pieces of knowledge that is really critical, irrespective of what future career path our students pursue. So with that being said, I would like to just continue to work and see how we might be able to address it, just given, I think, the obligation in terms of our preparation for our graduates and their readiness to be, constructive citizens in society equipped with the knowledge that they'll need to do that.
So what I recommend you do then at this point is that you would like us to go back is that we make a motion to table this item to July, and then we bring back an amended item or a different plan.
I think that sounds good, because I think there's enough concern that we'd like to have continued discussion and see if there are other options available. So I will make a motion that we table this item until the July school board meeting.
I have a first, may I have a
I
second?
still have a question.
Sorry.
We need this in place though for the school year, right? So this has to be in place for August.
We need something in place. Right, so
Do we have does this affect all of our TCHS students or just a certain number of them?
I think it generally affects sophomores, to be honest with you. I think all sophomores are gonna have a hard time with that. I think otherwise it mostly affects students who have additional supports. So kids who have an ELL or a strategies class, but it 100% affects sophomores with the credit requirement they have to have and staying on track for graduation. Dr. Brown, do you have another comment? Okay, that was it.
So for these sophomores, right? So come August, if we don't have a viable solution, which what we have in front of us right now, right, isn't acceptable at this point. What happens to them? What happens on the first day of school? What happens to their TCH programming? Because some of them, this is their career path, right? Like this is foundational to what they're planning to do after graduation. So
We have to have a solution. So we table this, then we have to agree that we're going to agree on something in July.
Well, the reality is the school year will start, right? So what happens? Are they pulled from TCHS? Do we give them a full regular sophomore schedule? Like there's outcomes here, regardless of whether or not we resolve the policy.
Yeah, no, and we've had a lot of workaround conversations. I mean, we've offered cyber options. We actually thought about having every kid enroll in a cyber class and then having a teacher go and work with them, one of our cyber instructors up at TCHS a couple days a week. We just don't think it's really viable for some of our students and with their learning needs. We just don't think that's a great solution.
Is there an option to solicit feedback from the families or students impacted to see how many of it, like, does VBA offer a class for this? And are they interested or willing to do it? I just want to make sure we have like something in place for the kids who could do it, right? So that we don't leave all of them stranded by this.
Yeah, these students are scheduled at 8 credits as well right now, so there's really not a place to learn or schedule unless they go above 8. Because they have the 4 TCHS courses plus they have 4 classes in their regular schedule. So, yeah, no, and we can certainly provide more information and bring it back to the board. We can do that in the interim too. I mean, we can send you information, but you know, this was what we thought made the most sense as a solution for the challenge we have this year. But we understand the concerns.
Because it was short notice too, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we were notified in I think late April, early May that this was happening, and then I mean, we had other solutions. Can we hire a teacher? Can we send them to TCHS to continue the program? TCHS has indicated, you know, they really would like for us not to do that. They plan to use the space the teacher was using as another course space. So, I mean, they're full. They're at capacity at that point, so.
And just comparatively to other districts that are sending students to TCHS, I think it would be helpful to know just like what their solution's been for this too. I know we've like kind of talked about them in the abstract a little bit, but maybe more specifically.
Yeah, we can certainly find that out. Yeah, we can provide you with that information.
So I think we're in agreement that we do need to have a solution, and that we'll hear some other options, or another option in July, hopefully, right, that we'll vote on then to make sure that the students are all, you know, on track to graduate, and be able to also participate in their program at TCHS.
And sorry, one last thing. To Director Walmsley's point, she touched on this, but what has been the communication with families that have students that might be in this situation, and like, have they been able to provide feedback, or, you know?
No, I think at this point we have not, because we wanted to have a solution, yeah, before we contacted them and said, hey, we have this problem, it could be a big deal for your kid. Like, you know, like, we generally try not to do that. Yeah. It doesn't go over that. But no, so I mean, those would be the types of things that we can dig into a little bit. We can get some more information, we can provide some additional solutions potentially. But this problem isn't going to change.
Right.
We have more requirements of students than they can possibly do in a year. And so we have to think about how we're going to manage that, you know, as a longer-term solution as well.
Is summer school an option, like a summer course?
It is, but historically, kids have had to pay for that. I mean, and I think at those points, I think it's no longer an option currently. That ship has sailed, like, you know, and really, it really is not a fair outcome for kids to require them to come take a summer class to, you know.
Yeah, I want to say I appreciate the concerns, but I also appreciate that it really seems like the plan that's on the table right now is to help remove a barrier for students who want to attend TCHS. Because those students, there are students that have been in our schools, other district schools that haven't found success and have really found a home and a path of success at TCHS. So I appreciate that we're really trying to make sure that we're not posing a barrier for those students. For students who have IEPs, would 13th year programming be a support for some of those students with IEPs?
I mean, generally, no. I mean, students are normally not graduating on goals and objectives, you know, where we would look at a 13th year program. It really would be, kids are normally graduating on credits. So, I mean, it could be, but I mean, like, not necessarily, you know.
Any other comments? Okay.
So I think in that case, I will make a motion that we table this and revisit it at the July meeting. We'll make that motion.
Okay, so I have a first from Director Dr. Dietrich to table the motion to waive the first and second reading requirements and allow final board approval for revised policy 217 graduation requirements. Do I have a second? Director Parkinson? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
So nay?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Now, Director Darnell, I believe you have a motion?
Yes. Approval is requested of the memorandum of understanding between Octorara Area School District and the Westchester Area School District. I so move.
I have a first from Director Darnell. for approval of the memorandum of understanding between Octorara Area School District and the Westchester Area School District. I do have a comment. I feel like for the public, we should actually say what that memorandum is.
Sure, so the memorandum is for students who attend the TCHS program that's held at Octorara School District, which is the public safety program. So it actually is between the district and Octorara so that our students can attend classes on their campus.
Thank you, Dr. Christopher. So I have a first from Dr. Durnell to approve this memorandum. May I have a second? Second. Director Fry. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. We'll now move on to comments from residents on non-agenda items. Do we have anybody signed up tonight?
There is one speaker on non-agenda items, that is Judy DeFonso.
Hi, everyone. It's June. I'm Judy DeFonso. I still live in East Goshen. I'll be very brief today. In case anyone noticed, I'm wearing orange today, and that's because June is School Safety Awareness Month, and orange is the color that goes with school safety awareness, and I think the district's probably been doing a good job with that, because I haven't heard any kind of complaints on that. It's also Pride Month, and I found that I do not have anything that is rainbow colored in my wardrobe, so that's something for me to work on for next time. And let's wish everyone a happy summer, because that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Have a good summer. So next, I will read a closing quote, which is from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education. Our next monthly board meeting is on Monday, July 28th. Please note that committee meetings and the monthly board meeting will all be held on that day. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Anybody? Director Durnell, may I have a second? Director Wamsley? All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Meeting adjourned.